Cleanup efforts continue across the city following this week's massive storm. Snowbanks piled high along streets as Toronto braces for more snow this weekend. Good afternoon. It's looking like the city will be hit with a double whammy. Even more snowfall is due to blow through this weekend.
Meanwhile, clearing operations are still underway to remove snow from Wednesday's winter wall-up.
CTV's Janice is live at the City Works Yard with an update on how Toronto is dealing with all the snow and where you're going to put the next round, Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, well, we're getting a bit of a reprieve today, but we are preparing for another major winter snowstorm this weekend, which means City Works crews, which have already been working around the clock since Wednesday evening, have a lot of work ahead of them. Now, more than 20 centimeters of snow fell between Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. That's a 24-hour period, which is the largest single snowfall in our city since January 2022. Since then, hundreds of staff have been clearing roads, cycling infrastructure, sidewalks and multi-use paths in back-to-back rounds. To help crews get roads clear, the city declared a major snowstorm condition, meaning you cannot park on snow routes without facing tickets or a tow. As of this morning, they tell us approximately 1,500 tickets have been issued to vehicles illegally parked on snow routes, and at least 10 vehicles have been towed. Parking enforcement will continue through the weekend, especially given we are facing up to 30 more centimeters between Saturday and Sunday, with the storm expected to be most intense Sunday morning to midday.
For our arterial roads, we've had to plow at least 4 times. For our cycling infrastructure, same thing, at least 4 rounds of plowing was needed. And what is rare is that we had to actually activate 2 plowing rounds for local roads and the windrow clearance. And also, to give you some context, that's equivalent to approximately 60,000 lane kilometers of roadway that has been cleared since Wednesday evening.
We anticipate about 5 centimeters additional on Saturday and between 15 and 20 on Sunday. To help crews manage this as effectively as possible, we proactively declared a major snowstorm condition, as well as a significant weather event on Wednesday evening. These declarations will remain in effect through the weekend and potentially longer, depending on the upcoming snowfalls. This means that parking continues to be prohibited on all designated snow routes to help crews clear our streets as effectively as possible.
Now, if you are parked on a snow route, you could face a fine of between $75 and $200. So you are advised to try to make plans to stay indoors this weekend and to stay off the roads, especially on Sunday. You're also asked to clear your sidewalks if you can, but if you do so, make sure that the snow stays on your property and doesn't make it onto the roads to make it easier for crews to clear pathways. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Michelle.
Good to know. Thank you, Janice. And still to come this noon hour, the 4 main provincial party leaders are set to square off in their first debate of this election campaign. What's expected during their face-off in Northern Ontario later today.
And we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Comfortable enough if you want to go out for some skating, and though we do have more snow coming for the weekend, for most people, there's no school, no work, and you might not have to be on the road, but for some, they'll be out and about, so there's concern. Lindsay Morrison's here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Well, Nathan, all is pretty calm for today, with the exception of some areas in the snow belt. I'll step aside here so you can see on the satellite and radar imagery, lake effect snow is tapering off. There is still one warning that remains in place just around Lake Simcoe and Lake Couchiching there, impacting areas like Midland and Penetanguishene. But otherwise, advisories have now come to an end. Winds out of the west today, not as strong as yesterday and not as strong as they will be this weekend. Current temperature is -6 degrees in Toronto, but it feels like -14. It was a chilly start to the day today. Your Valentine's Day afternoon is looking quite lovely, a sun-cloud mix. And if you have dinner date plans tonight, all is expected to be dry, but things do change as we head into the weekend. And as mentioned, this is a bit of a 1-2 punch. There's Saturday. And here's Sunday, even more intense. We are looking at significant amounts of snow. Once again, we have lots to talk about when it comes to your long weekend forecast. We'll take you through it just ahead. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Lindsay. An investigation is underway after a fatal industrial accident in Etobicoke. The business is on Atwell Drive in the Carlingview and Highway 409 area. Toronto Fire, paramedics and police responded just after 10 last night for reports of a person caught in a piece of machinery. Paramedics tell us the man was pronounced dead there on the scene. The Ministry of Labour has been notified.
In Oakville, a man is dead after a car crash last night. Halton police say a Porsche SUV was traveling on Bristol Circle near Plymouth Drive a bit before 10 p.m. when it went off the road and hit a light pole. The 31-year-old driver was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. His 30-year-old passenger survived. Both men are from Hamilton. Investigators are asking witnesses or anybody with video of the crash to get in touch as they try to figure out what took place.
Police were investigating a stabbing near Dufferin and DuPont. Officers got the call and found a male victim suffering from a stab wound. He was taken to hospital with minor injuries. At this point, there's no word on suspects, and so far, no arrests have been made.
Peel police have rescued 5 dogs from an alleged puppy mill in Mississauga. Police responded to a business earlier this week near Dundas and Mavis after receiving reports of a possible puppy mill. They found 5 puppies caged in a vehicle inside a garage. Police say the puppies were living in horrible conditions with urine and feces throughout the vehicle without suitable food or water. The puppies are now being cared for by the Mississauga Animal Shelter. 49-year-old Urson Misser-Lissoy has been arrested and charged with causing unnecessary suffering to animals.
It's not the Valentine's Day message a tiny homes community was hoping for. The city is demanding the removal of mobile shelters set up in a downtown park for people experiencing homelessness.
The group was given until today to respond to the cease and desist letter. CTV's Beth McDonnell has the details.
Us together as a team at Tiny Homes, we had realized we had to answer the city by Valentine's Day. So that answer, we thought we would put up some hearts for Valentine's Day and ask the city to show some love and show compassion.
5 tiny homes dot St. James Park near the corner of Church and Adelaide. February 7th, the city sent a letter obtained by CTV News to the president and founder of the organization, detailing the homes are unlawful, demanding they stop supplying and installing them, adding the city also requires the removal of any existing structures from city property. It also said without a response by February 14th, it would assume that tiny homes would not comply with the demands.
When we got the letter, we were quite disheartened with the letter. Right now it's wintertime, there's not enough space. Really hurt.
Tiny Homes responded to the city's letter with their own letter, saying they have ceased further construction and is committed to working with the city.
Our intention is not to fight with the city. When it comes time, we will comply with lawful orders.
Founder Ryan Donnet says he wants the homes out of the park and hopes the city will help facilitate them going to another property somewhere else. The first homes arrived in October. They provide shelter to unhoused people and are equipped with smoke and carbon monoxide detectors and come with a fire extinguisher. To keep warm, they're heated with diesel. The Downtown Concerned Residents Organization wants them moved.
The residents and business operators in the area do not want these tiny homes here for a number of reasons, one of which it's just a violation of the bylaws, but also it's a trap for these people that are currently housed in these things because they're flammable.
Donnet says until a more suitable location is found, they're planning to maintain the homes.
Everybody's 100% on board with moving to a more permanent location that's not in the park.
In a statement, a city spokesperson says city staff have had ongoing dialogue with the owner of Tiny Homes and have explained these structures cannot remain in St. James Park or on city property. The owner has been asked to coordinate removal of the structures. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
The union representing 30,000 City of Toronto workers has taken another step towards a potential strike or lockout.
QP Local 79 says the city has refused to engage in meaningful negotiations. CTV's Natalie Johnson's live at City Hall with more. Natalie.
Well, Nathan, this latest move means that the union will soon be in a legal strike position. It does not necessarily mean there will be a labor disruption, but it certainly does amp up the public pressure to reach a deal.
The latest labor battle playing out at Toronto City Hall is now edging closer to a strike. The union representing 30,000 inside workers requesting a no-board report from the province, starting the clock ticking on possible job action.
We will not be bullied. Toronto residents support fair wages for workers who provide essential services that they rely on every day.
Those workers include municipal childcare and community center staff, public health inspectors, 311 operators, bylaw officers, long-term care staff, and more. The union citing wages as the main sticking point, arguing staff are underpaid and undervalued.
City workers have endured years of stagnating wages, increasing workloads in the most expensive city in Canada, while senior management remains amongst the highest paid.
It comes on the heels of an expensive year for the city when it comes to labor costs. TTC workers netted a 13% pay hike over 3 years after threatening to walk off the job last summer. And Toronto's outdoor workers won a 14.65% increase over 4 years. The city says it has offered QP Local 79 the same wage increase accepted by the outside workers. The inside workers say they want their own deal.
This is a city that is clearly out of touch with the realities of everyday working Torontonians.
The city writing in a statement that its focus remains on achieving a fair and reasonable collective agreement that recognizes the vital contributions of city employees while ensuring value for Toronto residents and businesses. Once the no board report is issued, the city will be in a legal lockout position after 17 days, and the union can legally strike. The city stressing that it does have contingency plans in place in event of a strike or lockout. The city manager is expected to respond this afternoon. We will bring you the latest tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Natalie. The latest now from the Ontario election campaign. The 4 main provincial party leaders will be face-to-face this afternoon to pitch their plans for this province.
It is their first debate of the election campaign, and CTV News Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live to tell us more about what we can expect. Siobhan.
Well, the dynamics here are really the thing to watch. This will be the first time on this stage for Marit Stiles and Bonnie Crombie. This debate really focused on northern issues. This is Doug Ford's 3rd time around, though. Watch for him to really focus on the idea of mining more critical minerals in the north. And also this morning, he was championing a plan to buy more water bombers to protect from forest fires. The NDP does have some seats in the north that they're looking to protect. Marit Stiles has been arguing that this is a region that's been ignored by progressive Conservatives when it comes to road safety and health care. Look for Bonnie Crombie to really zero in on that subject of gaps in northern health care. Mike Schreiner's also been talking about gaps in the north as well when it comes to housing and mental health supports. This, however, as I said, is a narrow debate focused on those northern issues, a little less about the province-wide scope. So CTV political analyst Scott Reed had some advice for the candidates on how to approach this one.
Use it to get your rhythm down, standing on stage with the other leaders. Think about Monday, the day that's to come when it's the real show in front of the full province. So work out your nerves, work out your rhythm, figure out how you want to physically interact with the other leaders. That's a huge part of it. People forget. They think the debates are about words. They're about images.
Post-debate, expect PC leader Doug Ford to face questions from reporters about a highlight reel of his trip to Washington and whether it broke ethics rules, and also an off-the-cuff remark he made that seemed to support the death penalty, though his campaign says it was just an off-color joke. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Also today, Elections Ontario confirmed candidate nominations for the February 27th vote have now closed. You're still eligible to register to vote as long as you're 18 years of age or older, a Canadian citizen and a resident of Ontario. You'll have to do so by Monday if you'd like to receive a voter information card, as those are mailed out next week. You can register and find details on early and mail-in voting at elections.on.ca. For Canadian businesses, uncertainty over the impact of U.S. tariffs, especially for those who rely on or deal with steel.
CTV's Sean Leathong visited a North York company that sells only in Canada and talked about what the levy could mean.
This steel will be shipped within Canada from a business operating almost entirely within our borders, but there's still concern that tariffs will affect them.
It'll slow us down, I would anticipate.
Shale Tobe is one of the owners at North York Iron, taking us through 2 warehouses with racks upon racks of steel.
We sell to manufacturers, we sell to the auto industry, we sell to construction.
They sell entirely in Canada, between $30 and $35 million a year. As for what they buy,
95% is Canadian, maybe 5% U.S.
He says that tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump won't hurt them right away, but
when Canada retaliates, that's when we're going to be affected.
Tobe says there are few products he buys that are only made in the United States.
This material comes out of Georgia.
During the last trade war in 2018, those products got a waiver from the government, but the industry is so uncertain right now, and he says this time feels different.
If I was American, I probably would have voted for Trump. I like a lot of the stuff he is doing, but Canada's always been a good neighbor to the U.S., so I don't understand why he is coming after us the way he is.
He says despite North York Iron's focus on Canada, doing business cross-border has become almost unavoidable.
Even the Canadian mills, they're all pretty much owned by American mills.
And if there is a tariff placed on products from the U.S., there may be no choice.
I think we'll still have to bring those products in and pay. We'll just have to pass it on to the customer.
And hope this ends soon. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
The 2-month GST break is coming to an end this weekend. The big question, did it lead to a surge in sales? CTV's Allison Bamford reports.
3812. This weekend, Quentin Nordic will ring in his final customers under the GST holiday, a tax break that brought in a few more sales than usual for this time of year.
I even had a few customers where they actually told me that that's why they came in for that item.
He's one of a lucky few. New data from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business shows only 5% of small businesses saw stronger sales compared to last year at this time, with 70% reporting no real change in spending or sales. That's how the tax break unfolded at this Saskatoon clothing store.
So I think if anything, it just led to more confusing conversations with our customers in store who thought it applied to everything.
At the onset, the GST break was a major headache to implement for many small retailers. In some cases, stores spent hundreds of hours checking inventory to see what items applied. Others spent upwards of $1,000 on IT support to get new systems in place.
A policy that sounds good on paper. I mean, who doesn't want, a 5+% discount on anything? Doesn't necessarily translate in practice.
The hospitality sector benefited the most from the GST break, according to CFIB data. But inside this Saskatoon brewery, sales stayed status quo over the holiday.
At the start, we were really hoping that it might get people out, spend some more money.
Consumers got a break at the till, but we spoke to some who say it didn't make a difference in their spending.
Not really. I haven't bought much.
I'm glad the government made that intervention. I think they need to do something more.
It should be less of a headache for retailers to reverse the GST holiday, but there's a bit of worry that shoppers could see this as a price hike over the weekend. And advocates for small businesses wonder how that might affect consumer spending. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
And Allison mentioned the impact the tax holidays had on the hospitality industry. Today, Restaurants Canada shares some hard data on that front. During the first 6 weeks of the GST and HST break, the trade association says transactions at restaurants were up 7.6%. That's compared to the 3 weeks before the holiday took effect. Restaurants Canada estimates an additional $1.5 billion will have been spent during the 2-month period, calling the tax break a lifeline for the industry that should be extended.
In Ottawa, Conservative MPs are meeting on Parliament Hill today for the first time since the holiday break.
The Carney-Trudeau Liberal approach has made Canada more vulnerable by telling our allies that we're not going to sell them our clean and ethical LNG. That's ridiculous.
Parliament has not been sitting since January 6th after being prorogued. It followed the Prime Minister's plans to step down, which resulted in the Liberal leadership race. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is speaking to his caucus today ahead of a planned Canada First rally tomorrow. The Tories' substantial lead in the polls has narrowed considerably since Justin Trudeau's departure was announced.
Ukraine's president says he will only meet with Russia's leader if and when Kyiv agrees on a peace plan with U.S. President Donald Trump and European leaders first.
First of all, I don't want to meet just with Russians just to meet. For what? No, we see the order of meetings. As I said, the order is United States, Europe, then Russia.
Volodymyr Zelensky also told the Munich Security Conference that Ukraine would need to double the size of its army if it's unable to join NATO. He said the U.S. was against Kyiv joining the alliance and believes Washington never actually saw his country as a NATO member. But he believes Donald Trump is the key to ending the war. Zelensky will meet with U.S. President or Vice President, make that J.D. Vance today on the sidelines of the conference. A drone armed with a warhead hit the protective outer shell of Ukraine's Chernobyl nuclear plant today. It punched a hole in the structure and briefly started a fire. But the strike did not breach the plant's inner containment shell, and radiation levels have not increased. Ukraine blamed Russia, which denied responsibility.
In Rome, Pope Francis has been hospitalized to treat a week-long bout of bronchitis. He's also undergoing diagnostic tests. The pontiff conducted a handful of audiences today before going to hospital. No details were given about the duration of his stay there, but the Vatican says the Pope is canceling his participation in Holy Year events through to Monday.
Now, it may be hard to believe, but we are looking at an additional 15 to 30 centimeters of snow or more as we continue through this weekend. And yes, that's on top of what's already out there after the last two storms. So you're likely going to be doing some shoveling before the weekend is finished. A reminder to take care. That snow already out there is heavy, and so you'll want to lift with your legs, as they say. And looking ahead to Monday, the snow is going to taper off in many areas. We're going to be dealing with lake effect as opposed to system snow that day, but it is going to be cold for Family Day. Bundle up, huddle up with your loved ones. We're going to take you right through the 7-day forecast on the other side of the break.
I'm Jessica Smith. We are live in the iconic historical Distillery District, getting ready for Valentine's Day, feeling the love with some fun treats, cool drinks, and we're getting ready for what is going to be a busy weekend, even with the snow coming up. We'll have more on all the things you can do here in the city. Those details after the break.
It's Valentine's Day, and there are a few different ways you can celebrate in the city today and throughout the weekend. And joining us with some food for thought is Jessica Smith, who's joining us live from the Distillery District with some delicious options to kick off the sweet celebrations today. Sounds so good, Jess.
Listen, it's a great assignment. They're kind of timing everything. We're going to bring it out in just a moment, Nathan, but they have so much fun stuff going on right throughout the weekend, even with the snow taking place as we head into the day tomorrow, as Lindsay alluded to. It won't matter because in the Distillery District, they have no shortage of activities and locally owned businesses to help support the feeling of love as we head throughout the weekend, as well heading in towards the Family Day weekend. We got some people outside roasting marshmallows, enjoying their time. I'm a little jealous of you, to be perfectly honest, because you have the treats and we are almost ready to bring out all of our delicious snacks. We're going to kind of make our way across here. Oh my gosh, I would absolutely love one. You know what, we're gonna just switch things up here. We have the hot chocolates in place, live on the air. I wish I had more hands for this, but I really have to say, it doesn't get much better than this. And as we head throughout the weekend, it is going to be absolutely fantastic. We'll get you guys to kind of play a bit of Vanna White for us here. Show us the different drinks that we have. We got this one here too. And to be perfectly honest, they have options for everybody. And even with the snow, nothing is ending. There's Mr. Rick, how are you doing? We came up a little bit early, but here we go. So talk to me about what people can expect as they head throughout this weekend, because I know it's Valentine's Day. You can bring your sweetheart for a sweet treat or your friend. But what do you guys have going on this weekend?
We've got Fireside in the distillery here, and so we're celebrating obviously everything to do with a little bit of snow that we have some around here today. Canadiana, and really enjoying the sights and sounds of the distillery. So we've got hot chocolate, s'mores, marshmallows for roasting, as you know, by the fires out here, and it's all throughout the distillery. And it's here all weekend, right from today, Friday, until 8 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 12 to 6.
Listen, I'm going to switch things up because I have to show this pink one. So I'm going to put this one right here, actually right here. There we go. And you guys, you have to see this one. I'm going to try to hold the entire tray all at once. And it really doesn't get much better than this. So when it comes to bringing your family down or your sweetheart down, what do you recommend for people? Obviously, it's going to snow a little bit. Can they take transit? What's the best way to get here to enjoy all the fun?
Absolutely. Transit's a great way. There's a Cherry Street loop right at the end here, so we're really close to transit. Great way to get here. And yeah, there is a parking lot in the south side here. Typically full on the weekends, but hey, come down, check it out. It's going to be wonderful. And absolutely, like you said, come down here with your sweetheart. Bring your family, friends, the kids, bring the dog for a walk, and come out and enjoy, the beautiful Distillery District and obviously the Victorian industrial architecture. We were talking about the preservation of buildings and in Toronto, this is a great site for that. A lot of history and a lot of fun stuff to see, as well as support local business here.
So I'll be honest, I am here because I love the history, but I'm also here because I really love snacks. So for people coming down this weekend, do you have a favorite? I know it's hard to pick one. People are out here roasting marshmallows. There's glitter on this drink, but do you have a favorite?
From the hot chocolates, I'm a big fan of the Nutella and toasted hazelnut. Toasted hazelnut's a thing for me. So definitely this one, Vera Ferrero Rocher. But, you know, we've got so many great options from Balzac's, the Sweet Escapes, Wildly Delicious, Mill Street, Clooney, El Catrin, here at Jardin. Honestly, there's so many for you to come out and try. Bring your family, bring your friends, and honestly go around, do a sampling of. You can see we've got even more here from Soma.
I'm not upset. Listen, you know what? I'm going to send it back inside. Will I try to drink all of these? Absolutely.
Yes.
You know what? But it's worth it. We're going to keep on celebrating all things uniquely Canadian and sharing the love. I'll send things back to the studio.
Looks so good, all of it.
I know. Hopefully they can
share it if you can't
surprise
finish
some
it.
people with that. Yeah, you know what? That's the secret right there to Valentine's Day. The key to many of our hearts is through our stomach, right? The food that looks amazing. Having a good Valentine's so far?
Yeah, so far. And what I like is that weather is not a factor or an issue. So if you've got plans, they cannot be canceled.
That's true. Yeah, it's clear roads tonight. Not so much the case over the weekend. I know maybe some are making it a Valentine's Day weekend, which is wonderful, but you're right. Today is the day that is going to be great for getting out, driving, going for a walk, taking your sweetheart out for dinner perhaps, because we are bracing ourselves for another winter wallop as we make our way into this weekend. Lots to get to. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Yesterday was a snow day. For many kids, today is a PA day. And for others, it's just a great opportunity to get outside and enjoy Valentine's Day. Hey, maybe your Valentine is your four-legged friend, your dog. We're flying high over one of the local dog parks this hour, and I think those pooches are enjoying the fresh snow also. More on the way. Not so much for today. We've been eyeing some lake effect snow, but the squalls are now coming to an end. All advisories have now been dropped by Environment Canada, so that's great news. Calm for now, but look what's waiting in the wings. Our storm for the weekend is now just starting to develop. It is going to swing through in 2 rounds, 1 Saturday and 2 Sunday. We might even be able to call it 3 if you consider the fact that we could get some lake effect snow on Family Day Monday. Here's the forecast radar. There's tonight. All is dry, albeit mainly cloudy. So the snow, this is going to get going starting tomorrow late morning. So let's say around 11 a.m. It's going to fall for a good portion of the day. It'll start to taper off a little bit for your Saturday night. Don't get too used to that because the second round is going to move in overnight and then be with us for pretty well the whole portion of the day on Sunday. And doesn't this look awfully similar to what we experienced earlier this week? Risk of freezing rain along the Lake Erie shoreline in through Niagara, maybe some rain. Likely more in the way of snow this time. The closer you get to Hamilton, for example, you can see just how widespread this is. And the snow will continue to fall until Sunday night. Then it starts to taper off. On the backside of that low, we will have strong winds and likely some snow squalls developing. So the big question is, how much additional snowfall are we looking at? Well, this is perhaps on the high end, but we can't rule out this possibility of 20 to even 40 centimeters of fresh snow around the GTA, maybe even 50 centimeters in some areas. Of course, today is Friday. We're looking ahead to Sunday, so numbers could very much change, and also the track of this load could change a little bit. So make sure that you're keeping up to speed when it comes to any watches or warnings that are no doubt going to be issued later today or tomorrow. -5 degrees right now in the city of Toronto. It feels like -12. Today's high is expected to be around -4 degrees, and then overnight tonight we drop to a low near -11. Wind's a bit of a factor. It's going to feel like -14. And now here is your long weekend forecast. Snow for both Saturday and Sunday, measurable snow at that. Then we see some lake effect flurries for Monday. It is noticeably colder for your Family Day, and that cold air is going to settle right in for the early to middle part of next week. Looks like we'll get back into some sunshine by about Tuesday. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, one of the province's winter pastimes will be more accessible this long weekend. Ontarians won't need to purchase a fishing license or outdoors card to enjoy some ice fishing.
CTV's Corey Nordstrom spoke with an angler with some tips before dropping a line.
This Family Day weekend marks one of 4 times per year where the province waives the requirement for a fishing license. Sport fisher Dean Latham has some tips for anyone looking to try ice fishing. He says one safety measure can also help locate fish.
You want to know that the ice is going to be safe to go out on. Generally, if somebody's going to be new to ice fishing and they've never done it before, I'd suggest going somewhere where they know people are going fishing, and then you have that area. And generally where people are fishing, there's usually fish.
With over 35 years experience as a fishing guide, Latham says the #1 thing to make sure ice fishing is enjoyable is to make sure you stay warm.
You definitely need these. So I'd suggest having a pair of rubber boots on, dress warm. You definitely want to dress for the occasion. I always dress in layers, so then that way if it does end up warming out throughout the day, you can kind of maybe take off some layers and stuff.
With increased accessibility, local tourism officials hope weekends like this increase the love for ice fishing for both locals and tourists.
It's so important to Northern Ontario's economy, our tourism economy. About 1/3 of our tourism receipts are related to angling. It's huge. It's one of the big bonuses for people who live here in Northern Ontario is to get out and experience what we have in the outdoors.
Everybody's happy when they catch fish, for sure. I mean, whether or not you're going to eat it, whether or not you're going to release it, it's just a joy. Actually, it's being out in nature too. It's really nice to be in the outdoors.
Despite the waived fees on fishing licenses, new anglers will still need their own equipment, but they don't need to break the bank. Latham says all the necessary ice fishing gear should cost less than $100. Fishers are reminded that all the typical size and catch limits are still in place this weekend. For those details, visit the Fishing Regulations tab on the Government of Ontario's website. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
And as we head into the weekend, there's a major subway closure to keep in mind. Tonight, Line 1 trains will stop running between Bloor-Yonge and Osgoode stations at 11 p.m. for planned track work. The closure was supposed to be in effect every weeknight this week, but it was scaled back as the TTC freed up resources to respond to the snowstorm. Shuttle buses will run until the end of subway service at around 2 in the morning. And as many post-secondary students prepare to travel for their winter reading week, GO Transit is stepping up service tomorrow. There will be 4 additional trains on the Kitchener line, 2 in each direction, to accommodate more passengers. Those added trains are scheduled to run as reading week comes to an end Sunday, February 23rd.
Coming up, Paddle Royale. The head of cardiology at St. Mike's Hospital challenges Ben Stiller to a game of pickleball. The fundraiser with a twist.
A Toronto cardiologist has issued a friendly challenge to actor Ben Stiller to draw attention to heart disease.
As our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it's inspired by Stiller's upcoming movie about pickleball.
Cardiologist and researcher Dr. Kim Connolly says he's never actually played pickleball before, but anything to help draw attention to heart health.
When the St. Michael's Hospital Foundation asked me to be part of this, I didn't skip a beat, bad pun intended.
And they've issued a hilarious video challenge to actor Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. Sweatband. And so, Ben, I challenge you to a pickleball match March 29, 2025.
Stiller's upcoming film, The Dink, is about pickleball and was shot in Canada. But there's a serious side to Paddle Royale, too.
It's all about fundraising, developing dollars to support research for cardiovascular science and cardiovascular medicine, which will then flow back to investigators and folks here at St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto.
Connolly's particular area of work is developing new drugs to treat the blood vessels.
So scarring, or we call it fibrosis, affects the heart, and what it does is it causes the heart to stiffen up and can lead to heart failure. But it can also affect other organs like the kidneys and lead to kidney failure.
Cardiovascular disease is a worldwide problem.
It's actually the #2 cause of death in Canada, but in the world, it's actually the #1 cause of death. So this is a major problem. And in fact, every 5 minutes, 1 Canadian dies of cardiovascular disease.
Of course, exercise, like pickleball, is a way to help prevent heart disease, like eating well, not smoking, and avoiding alcohol.
The event will be held on March 29th, and so far, St. Mike's has received positive feedback from Ben Stiller's team. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A research breakthrough is raising hopes for a way to more quickly detect pancreatic cancer. Researchers at Oregon Health and Science University say they're able to use a small blood sample to detect changes in a key indicator of the often deadly cancer. When the condition is diagnosed in the pancreas, it's often at an advanced stage when treatment options are limited.
New figures show influenza continues to drive much of the respiratory virus activity across the province. Public Health Ontario published data on the week of February 2nd through the 8th. Over 23% of lab tests for influenza came back positive, keeping it at a high rate of spread. More than 700 Ontarians were hospitalized as they battled flu infections during that time. Meanwhile, RSV and COVID remained at what officials consider a low level, although an additional 721 hospital beds were occupied by patients battling those two viruses. The Toronto International Film Festival is moving ahead with a major expansion. With industry heavy hitters in attendance each year, studios and distributors have long used TIFF as an informal opportunity to buy and sell film projects. Last year, the festival announced it's developing plans for an official content market similar to those seen at the Cannes and Berlin film festivals. TIFF Chief Programming Officer Anita Lee told Variety that having a content market would expand the scope of creators who are able to take part in the festival. TIFF announced an advisory committee to help launch the market at next year's event.
Sabrina Carpenter is debuting a deluxe version of her latest album with a new duet.
Please, 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 don't prove I'm right.
That is, of course, Dolly Parton joining Carpenter in a new version of her song, Please, Please, Please. The video features some sly references to the original video, which features Carpenter's now ex. The deluxe version of Short and Sweet features some new tracks as well after winning Best Pop Vocal Album at the Grammys earlier this month. And still to come, U.S. stocks strike a record high this morning. Details on and the rest of your business headlines after this short break.
These are violent criminals, so they're not going to go down easy. Let's get this done.
U.S. stocks hit a record high this morning, and Toronto wasn't far behind.
Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there, here are your business headlines. America's S&P 500 stock index topped 6,120 this morning, on course for a record high close. Investors appear relieved that a raft of tariffs threatened by U.S. President Donald Trump may not kick in for months. Toronto's composite index was down only about 0.5% from its January 30th record. Stocks on the rise included Airbnb, which climbed 15% after issuing an upbeat forecast for the first 3 months of 2025. The company cited, quote, continued strong demand after a bustling holiday travel season. And finally, shares in CAE, the Canadian maker of aircraft training simulators, rose 14% on word that a pushy investor has won a seat on the board. Peter Lee, co-founder of LA-based investment manager Browning West, has been named as director. Browning West has sought a say in choosing a CEO at the company and will now help find a new leader. CAE also announced the appointment of former Air Canada CEO Calin Rovinesco as chair of the board. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg.
The country's largest airline says it lost hundreds of millions of dollars to finish off 2024. Air Canada says it was down $644 million in its fourth quarter. That's compared to a $184 million profit over the same period in 2023. But it wasn't all bad news for the company. The air carrier reported record operating revenues for the full year of $22.3 billion. President and CEO Michael Rousseau says demand for air travel remains high and Air Canada is well positioned to adapt to any changes or challenges that may arise.
Meanwhile, the CEO of WestJet is highlighting a drop in demand for travel to the United States. Alexis von Hansbroek says since talk of cross-border tariffs began heating up in earnest in recent weeks, interest to fly south has dropped by about 25%. He noted the exchange rate on the Canadian dollar likely also has something to do with this big fall in demand, and it's not clear how sustainable it may be for the company. Home insurance premiums have been rising steadily, but they could be set for a major spike due to billions in losses last year.
From wildfires to hailstorms to flooding, severe weather is causing massive claims, putting pressure on premiums. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
2024 was not a good year for many residents of Canada who had their homes either damaged or destroyed by severe weather. Natural disasters left a trail of destruction and cost the insurance industry $8.5 billion in insured losses.
When claims pressures increase, there's pressures on premiums.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says between 2001 and 2010, severe weather claims amounted to $780 million a year. Now it's about 10 times that.
So going from $780 million a year on average to a record-breaking year of $8.5 billion, that is a staggering increase in claims.
The largest severe weather events in 2024 included the Calgary hailstorm with payouts of $3 billion, Quebec flooding $2.7 billion, the Jasper wildfire $1.1 billion, and the Toronto GTA flash floods cost insurance companies $990 million. The huge payouts are also attributed to inflation, building costs, and labor shortages.
Cost of living, cost of labor, cost of parts, all of these things increasing also means increased cost of claims.
The amount insurance policies may increase will differ from company to company. If you're facing an increase to try and reduce your premiums, you can bundle home and auto, increase your deductible, install loss prevention devices such as a burglar alarm or backwater valve, ask about additional discounts if you're a non-smoker, have a good credit rating, or if you're mortgage-free, and most importantly, shop around.
If you're a consumer and you're getting a $500 increase in the mail, it might be time to start looking around for another company out there that hasn't been impacted the same way that your company has.
While you may find cheaper insurance elsewhere, make sure you compare policies carefully, as coverage options will differ and there could be limits if you need to make a claim. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Turning to sports, the Toronto Scepters return to the ice tonight, looking to close the gap in the standings.
Putting on the speed, it's Renata Fast and a chance to win the game. She scores!
Toronto beat the Minnesota Frost 3-2 in overtime on Tuesday. This evening, the Scepters will try to inch closer to second-place Minnesota, which has a 5-point lead over Toronto in the standings. The Boston Fleet are in town tonight.
Meanwhile, Toronto's soccer team is back in the red. TFC unveiled this new home kit today. It's dubbed the Red of All Reds. The club's last home jersey was a combination of red, black, and gray. Toronto will continue to wear its white community kit on the road this season. TFC begins the 2025 season February 22nd at DC United.
In Philadelphia, Eagles fans are showing their love this Valentine's Day. A Super Bowl victory parade is underway in the city of brotherly love. Fans lining the streets to see the players and the Vince Lombardi Trophy after the Eagles won easily over Kansas City last Sunday. Many fans camped out along the parade route overnight to secure prime spots near the Philadelphia Museum of Art. That is where the team will take the stage on the famous Rocky Steps.
Coming up, love is in the air this Valentine's Day. We break down some new research on the rise of speed dating on the other side of this short break.
Here's some interesting research for your Valentine's Day. Event companies are seeing a rise in interest in speed dating across Canada as single people look for an alternative to all those dating apps. Numbers from Eventbrite show dating and singles events grew by 76% from 2023 to 2024. Speed dating and matchmaking services Flair Events says it has seen an uptick in people attending their events since COVID-19 restrictions lifted. Organizers say many people are trying speed dating as a way to meet new people and form new relationships due to dating apps lacking real-world connection.
But the search to find love may be hard on your wallet. A new poll suggests the cost of dating is reaching eye-popping levels. A BMO survey found more than half of single Canadians said they're going on fewer dates or looking for less expensive dating activities because of rising prices. On average, a single date costs $173, which includes the cost of commuting, getting ready for the date, and spending on food, drinks, or tickets. The total cost of dating before a relationship becomes official has ballooned to more than $3,600.
Wow, they did the math on that. Okay, the world's tallest digital Valentine is lighting up the South Florida skyline. The display is at the 60-story Paramount Miami World Center skyscraper. This is a 700-foot tall structure, and it's glowing with LED lips and an electronic flurry of floating hearts. The building's center column also illuminates with a red rose, which blossoms into an animated bouquet. And this is the perfect timing on Valentine's Day. It gets you in the mood.
Absolutely. Now, are we going to love the weather?
Well, you might love the weather today. I don't know if you're going to love the weather this weekend. There's a bit of a difference between the two scenarios. Let's take one more look, though, at your family day long weekend. Saturday and Sunday going to be very snowy. Monday, yeah, it's not as snowy, but it's cold. This is what we're looking at. Technically two storms that are going to swing through for both Saturday and Sunday, bringing us a hefty amount of snow. We'll have an updated look on the forecast tonight at 5 and 6. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.